I've had a lot of different inspirations this year, and it goes from photographers to musicians to even a neuroscientist. But I wanted to share some of these inspirations with you in order to maybe inspire you. The first photographer is Mark Mahaney, and he started as a 4x5 shooter, and he moved into an all-digital setup. And I don't want this to be about gear, but I think it's important to recognize that gear is important, and it's important to recognize that it can be a way to express exactly what you want to say when it comes to your photography and your storytelling. And he recognized early on that some of his work with 4x5 was a little too slow, a little too stiff, like my own portraits with 4x5. And when he moved to digital, it gave him this creative freedom that allowed him to better tell stories.
And I think there was a part of me that missed doing black and white work and missed sort of, and like, maybe it also goes back to the not really looking at what's currently happening and more so looking to the past. So I was looking at like old Stieglitz portraits and Dorothea Lange and Walker Evans and just really focusing in on like what I liked about them, what I liked about the feeling of them. And so I think a mix between that looking back for influence and also even just looking back for myself into what I originally enjoyed doing, which was like heavily black and white and mixing black and white and color. I definitely love as much as possible to create some sort of narrative and a little bit of like push and pull happening so that there's, you know, really strong images, and then there's also images that, while I obviously like the image enough to show it to the world, it's quieter and is almost more of like this interstitial kind of connective tissue between the louder moments of, you know, that are created in the images. And yeah, I definitely have that like editorial mind where I'm always trying to just shoot more and more and more and have there be portraits and mixing in landscapes and details and interiors. And I feel like it's just so important to set yourself apart. And if you're, you know, presenting all of this insane amounts of work to the world, and it has all this different look and feel, and it's not buttoned up exactly as you would want it to be, I feel like it's a real disservice. I don't remember if it was a Buddhist quote or Gandhi, I think, once said it, but I don't know the origins of it, but it's just that idea of like not speaking unless you feel like you can improve upon the silence.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about showing images as well.
The next group of people that I want to talk about is the band Tool, and more specifically the lead singer Maynard James Keenan. And I bring him up because if you listen to a lot of rock music, you might think that it's just a song that gets you pumped up to go to the gym, or a song that you put on for a run. And I used to do that myself, but it was only until recently that I actually started listening to the lyrics and looking into some of the meanings behind the song. And I like Tool because they kind of march to the beat of their own drum, and they go against the grain, and they're not making 2 to 4 minute mainstream type songs. They're making songs that are 8 minutes long, or 10 minutes, or even 15 minutes. And it's that idea that you don't have to be mainstream and you don't have to be like everyone else. You can do your own thing and put your own unique spin on something that has been around forever.
If you lock yourself in, you know, a dark, dim studio and try to regurgitate whatever got you popular to begin with, you're probably going to be unsuccessful. Your third or fourth album's not going to sound anything like your first album because you have them made now. Like, yeah, there's just, you kind of have to tap into what's happening now and try to be honest without forcing it or manipulating it. Be honest about what your feelings are about those things, because feelings are universal, they're timeless. So how do I truly feel about this thing without being too specific?
Does it get harder or easier as you go along?
It gets easier to get lazy, I think. So the only way to really do that is to always try to figure out some way to take yourself outside of your comfort zone. If you can get out of your comfort zone, you can then tap into things that are in a way fresh.
The next person that I want to talk about is Erinn Springer, and I bring her up because of her combining of assignment work as well as her own personal work. And I remember listening to a podcast a while back where she was talking about cold emailing photo editors and sharing her own personal work in those emails, and that's how she ended up getting some assignment work. And I did just that, and nothing came out of it, and that's not how I got assignment work. But I think that was a very inspirational and very bold way of doing things. And when she speaks of her assignments and how it relates to her personal work, I think it's a nice, cohesive way of growing as an artist and growing as a photographer when you can combine work that you do for other people in a way that is in line with how you make your own work. I think it can be a very nice way to continue evolving as a photographer.
Yeah, I think like with assignment photography, like just because you're in a situation that you wouldn't put yourself in otherwise, you're assigned to go somewhere to meet with a subject or a place or whatever it is, it's still all the same world you're living in. I think photography for me is just the way to experience the world and sort of my position and perspective within it. And I guess that can sound sort of cliche, and I think that's like why a lot of people take pictures, but it's really just, it comes from a place of curiosity, like whether I'm meeting a stranger, or like on an assignment or, sitting with my mom and talking to her. It's all forming this larger picture of just the world that I'm in and immersed in and my curiosity of it. So, but every time I'm with, I just did a story for the Times about rural county fairs, and I felt so emotionally invested in that. It seems like, it's this really fun story. It's like we're at fairs, kids are eating, ice cream and cakes and just going on rides. And it's, we all know what a fair is, but there's so much more to it than just that surface level aspect of it. It's this community event that attracts all different types of people, and just getting to interact with them. Like, I feel like it's like sort of my responsibility to like share that time with them and that space and, interact with them in a way that, if they make a picture with me, great. If they don't, also fine. But it's just like this, I don't know. Yeah, it's just this curiosity and genuine interest in people's lives and wanting to interact with them. Dormant Seasons is the series, and it started really as just an observation of my family and interacting, more so less observation and more so just an interaction with my family, who are all hunters, fishermen, outdoorsmen, farmers, like very of the land people. And I remember getting that film back and thinking like, oh, like I don't, it just sort of clicked. It's like, I should make this a project, like question mark, like there could be something here. And so I sort of started expanding that beyond my family and more into my community, and not super proactively or like not super, like I was like, it was a very slow process until just this last winter when I was home and I got an assignment based on that series that I had started. And then that really fed into the works. And I was like, I had, 3 weeks to shoot this story for the Times about the feelings surrounding winter. And that just really got me going and thinking and interacting with people. So it started with my family and then just really expanded from that to my community and with that assignment.
The next two people that I want to talk about quickly are William Sheepskin and Paulie B. And I mention them both because they're simply doing things the way that they want to do it. You can tell by the way that they make their videos and produce their work that they're not really taking into account what is popular or what wants to be seen by the masses. And I like William Sheepskin because he's not afraid to do a 40-minute long video, and he doesn't necessarily need to monetize everything that's out there. And I get lost a little bit in wanting to monetize things and make money because I put in a lot of work. But when I see William Sheepskin do that and go about things his own way, it's very inspiring. And then with Paulie, the way that he makes his videos and the long form videos that he does, it gave me a rejuvenation in my soul that not all is lost in regards to YouTube and how everyone's wanting quicker things and TikToks and Reels, and you want all the information in 5 minutes. When I watch his videos, they're 30, 40, 50 minutes long, and it's conversations about photography, and it's talking about photography. And the last person that I want to talk about is someone that is very different from a photographer, but they speak a lot of things that relate to me as a photographer as well as a person, and that's Andrew Huberman, who is a neuroscientist. He has a podcast as well as a YouTube channel, and he talks about everything under the sun as it relates to mind, body, and general overall health. And not only has a lot of these podcasts helped me in my personal life so far, as well as my own health, because I'm 32 now, I'm getting pretty old, but a lot of the concepts and a lot of the science that he talks about can be put back into a photography or a creative mindset. And the thing that he talks about the most that I think a lot of people struggle with is dopamine.
You should always expect that after a bunch of pleasure, there's going to be that low and then that craving. How do I get back to there again? And the key is you have to walk the staircase again. You don't get to do this as a square wave pull. You don't get to just ascend. It's always up, down, up a little bit higher, down, up, that's the function. And so we go back to this example of the person that's not motivated, that can't get off the couch, that doesn't want to do anything. Well, this is the problem. We remember the rat experiment? They are effectively the rat with no dopamine, but they can still achieve some sense of pleasure by consuming excess calories, by consuming social media. And look, I'm not judging, I do this stuff too, right? Scrolling social media. If you've ever scrolled social media and you're like, I don't even know why I'm doing this, it doesn't really feel that good. And so for people that aren't feeling motivated, the problem is they're not motivated, but they're getting just enough or excess sustenance. We can just sit there like the rat with no dopamine, gorging ourselves with pleasures, so to speak. What you end up with is somebody that feels really unmotivated, and those pleasures no longer work to tickle those feel-good circuits. And so there's no reason for them to go out and pursue anything. The problem is that pleasure experienced without prior requirement for pursuit is terrible for us. It's terrible for us as individuals. It's terrible for us as groups. And I have great confidence in the human species to work this out. But we are finding now, and we are going to increasingly find, that those who will be successful, young or old, are going to be those people who can create their own internal buffers. They're going to be able to control their relationship to pleasures, because the proximity to pleasures and the availability is the problem.
And I think what Huberman was saying as it relates to photography is that a lot of photographers these days are doing the thing that gets them the most attention, or they're doing the thing that gets them the most engagement. And it's almost always the easiest thing. And it's the easiest dopamine hit that they can get. They're posting a hot take on social media. They're posting a clickbait title on YouTube. And they're not worried about the reward that they get from the pursuit or the work that they put into it. They're just worried about the end goal. And they're worried about getting that attention for the day. And they're not worried about putting in the work for the whole week or for the whole month, then posting something and maybe possibly getting the attention or getting the likes or getting the engagement that they want that way. It's all about now, and it's not about taking your time and focusing on actually making something memorable. You're just focusing on making something that is forgettable in the moment right now, but it gets you the attention that you want. And I've been stuck in that myself. There's been times where I'm thinking about making work, or I'm thinking about going out, and I'm like, maybe I'll just get on social media and I'll reply to something, or I'll do a Q&A, or I'll post a historical photographer's work, because that's easier, and because I can get that instant gratification now, where people will start rolling in with some comments and some likes and some engagement, but I didn't do anything. I'm still sitting here on my phone, posting about stuff, talking about stuff, and I'm not actually outside doing it. And I did that, and I still do that sometimes, because that's easier. And this thing in my hand makes things super simple, and I don't have to work to get attention, or I don't have to work to get praise. And that's what I'm trying to forget about, and that's what I'm trying to move past. And I think a lot of people out there are just overwhelmed with the amount of information that is currently coming at them at all times. You can't keep up with 1,000 different photographers or 150 different photographers. You need to narrow your circle. Don't spread yourself so thin, and focus on building connections with people that actually mean something. You need to find a small circle of people and focus on cultivating those relationships. And I think a lot of what these photographers feel these days, whether it's the algorithm or low engagement or people not paying attention to their work, they'll find that in that small circle. And it will give you the motivation, and it will give you the drive to go out and make some work that might actually appeal to a broader audience in the future. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Those were my inspirations for this year. If anyone inspired you, or any photographer that you look up to, leave a comment down below. I'll take a look at their work. I'm always looking for people that inspire and push me towards being a better person and photographer. So until then, have a good year, and I'll see you guys in the next one.